Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream. We are continuing our, endless struggle with creating the game. Last time we were working on this little pressure plate here, which allows us to activate things by, putting something on top of it. Pretty typical puzzle stuff. There are some problems, like the fact that it doesn't detect the player right now, but this is on the to-do list. And at the end of the last stream, we started working towards making a switch, which is kind of like a pressure plate, but it works like a toggle, right? So we enable it once, and then it enables something else and stays this way until we disable it. Unlike a pressure plate where, it's only active as long as something is standing on it. So the main problem right now is that I want it to be the same button as picking up objects, which is E currently. And so we need a better way to detecting what we want to interact with, because right now it's only iterating over, all of the objects that can be picked up in the scene. But the switch is not going to be an object like that, right? It's going to be a bit different because we don't want to pick it up. And here's the system responsible for that. So right now we just have a huge query over all holdable entities, and we just find the closest one. So we probably want to make it a bit more generic to accept things that are different than, a holdable. I just started learning Rust and I've been struggling with memory. Is it just me or did it happen to you? And is Bevy wildly different from the Rust ideas? I don't know, because I don't know Rust. I also started learning Rust like a month ago. So like, I don't really have any, I don't have authority to answer this question, I guess. I don't have a lot of issues with memory, but that's mostly because I used to do some C++ when I was younger. So I do understand like how a computer operates, right? When it comes to the memory and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not sure what are the Rust ideas and how they compare to Bevy. One month when you're creating this is crazy. GG. Thanks, I guess. Yeah, it is a bit of a complex project for the first project to create. Okay, so when it comes to other things that we can interact with, because there is a different mode of interaction, right? We have things like interactables, and these are handled by a different button. So things like an anchor or a hook or a kinesis object, they are interacted with using spacebar, like this one, for example. And right now they're represented by an enum. So any type of interactable is just a different enum. And I'm thinking if things that can be interacted with using the E key should also be, modeled this way. So holdable would then be just one of the variants that we have. So maybe before I move on to that, let me just undo these changes. Hi, are you learning Rust and Bevy along the way? Or you learned something before starting the project? I'm learning it along the way. I feel like a name change is in order here because I don't think this should be interactables anymore. Something like a box that's going to be picked up sounds more like an interactable to me. So I don't know what would be a good name for that. Because this is something that we interact with, but like at a distance. Hi, hello, welcome to the stream. I guess I'm gonna call it targetable because they can be targeted by us at a distance, if that makes sense. This is actually how I used to call it back in Unity. This action was called targeting. Okay, can I rename this file with LSP support? Is that something that I can do? Oh, okay. Well, let's see if it's gonna build. Been following your videos a good bit ago and love your character designs. I haven't had the time to check out these streams, but I hope you're doing well and having a blast. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. I am, in fact, having a blast, I guess. Maybe not visibly so, but... Okay, so these are gonna be targetables, and now interactables are gonna be a different type of thing. So let's just quickly define a new module for them. Oh yeah, it built properly. That's cool. That's awesome. So we're gonna have some enum here, interactable enum, I guess. And now we have a holdable, so something that we can hold. And then we're gonna have a terminal, which is the thing that we can interact with and like press it. And we'll see where this goes. So this is gonna be a component, probably with some reflection. How do you manage the different tasks of the project and there is an estimate duration? I'm not sure what you mean by that. In what way manage? I work alone. I don't need to manage, you know, anybody. My current short-term goal is to do playtesting with my patrons, which is what we are working towards. We started by implementing the, you know, necessary gameplay elements, and we're practically finished. We have all of this. We're just finishing up the switch. And then I have a to-do list of some fixes that I need to take care of. And then I'm gonna start working on the level for playtesting, which I will probably not do live because I don't want to spoil it to people who are gonna playtest it. Yeah, and then once we do the playtesting, see what works, I will have a more refined vision of what I want the game to be. So I don't really plan any further than that because I don't see the point if it turns out that the game is not enjoyable to play. Then, like, you know, I don't need a development plan if it's not gonna work out. But if it does work out, then the next short-term goal is public demo release on Steam. And the estimate for that is the end of the year. But yeah, I'm probably not the best person to ask these questions. But how do you keep track of what you are doing and what to do next? Yeah, I believe I answered that. Okay, so holdable and terminal, and then where is our actual holdable? Right here. So it's actually being used by the cube right now, right? Yeah, it's being added here. So we will just add a interactable holdable, and this would make it holdable, hopefully. And then on our toggle, which we do have already, yeah, when we parse it, if we do parse it, toggle parser, yeah, okay. We're gonna insert a interactable toggle. No, a terminal, that's what it is, okay. All of this doesn't make sense, this is copy pasted from somewhere else. Is it open source, the game? No, it's a commercial product. I'll be selling it on Steam. So now instead of the holdables here, we're just gonna take interactables, and that's gonna be interactable. It probably doesn't have to be mutable because we're not gonna change it. Also, the transform here doesn't have to, this whole thing doesn't have to be mutable. Shouldn't be mutating anything here. Or we used to mutate the status. Okay, we're gonna go back to this. So this is no longer, this is not necessary because we're only interested in the target right now. Maybe later we're gonna need to verify if we can actually interact with it, because I'm assuming some things may have different requirements. I really ask for myself, I struggle with my project because I don't know what is the next step. Like I have my game plan in my head, but building the different pieces to make it work, I collapse. XD, I see. Yeah, it is quite a challenge. Did you start with the book or just power through directly tackling Bevy? The latter. I've yet to read the book. I will go back to it one day. Okay, we're finding the closest distance. And this assumes that we are picking something up. Oh yeah, so this is a good example of, or is it? No, I don't think it is. Never mind. Forget I said anything. We're gonna need some match statement here. We're gonna match over the closest holdable type. So we not only need entity, we also need the interactable enum. I'm just gonna put it here. What's wrong with that? Oh, it's a reference. Doesn't have to be. Can we dereference it? Yeah, okay. So now if let some entity, gonna use entity? No, we're using it for something else. Interactable entity and our interactable enum. If we have any match, then we're gonna do these things. First of all, we're gonna have a match statement inside over the interactable. Okay, and now holdable is gonna be this logic. The Rust book is super good. Yeah, I know. Worry not. It's just I don't have the time. I haven't had the time yet. I did start reading it like a few years ago, so I do know how good it is. Okay. So that's gonna be interactable entity now. And we're gonna need to find a way to edit this. Ideally, let's see. Entity transform interactable without player. I guess we could just take another query here for our holdables, just for now. Nobody needs to know. There's gonna be a mutable reference to holdable. And that shouldn't collide with anything, right? Yeah, I don't think it should. Also, this is no longer necessary. Now we can just get it right here. Oh wait, never mind. We are already getting it. So if let some mutable holdable, then we want to do this. And now our status is actually holdable. And this is a result, not an option. Okay. So this is gonna trigger if we are close to a terminal. Hopefully. So for now, let's just dual print line. Bro, you have a Tantan in your chat. This is wild. Yeah, I know. Not the first time though. He's been trying to convince me to switch to Helix last time. Okay, it is not building. Why so? Yeah, I did actually install it, by the way. Just out of curiosity to see if the hype is true. I even like set it up and everything. Just so that I'm not lying. Here I am. Yeah, but I still, my previous excuse still stands, which is that I need to learn how to type on a keyboard properly. You should try to use NeoVim for the entire stream. I could try doing it, but it would be so painful to watch. I don't know. I don't know if you deserve suffering through this, you know? One day though. One day you're gonna see me, you know, actually being able to use it. Okay. What is the problem here? Mismatched types. Okay, because that's now gonna be holdables as well. You should try Helix. Yeah, I showed it. Or are you saying this to me, or are you saying this to another chatter? Because like, if you're saying this to me, you can rewind 2 minutes, and I'm talking about it. Anyway, will this build now? Maybe. Maybe not. Closest holdable and then interactable. So what are we trying to get here? Oh, this whole if statement is no longer necessary actually, because now it's here in the match. Okay, and now we get some actual errors. We should look at that. We are not mutating anything. This is probably get mutable, right? This is mutable as well. Okay, and this probably doesn't implement copying, right? Okay, what about now? Oh, also we're probably missing something. That we're not checking for action ID. that feels wrong. Yeah, I think we need to check for if the action ID has changed here, because that's what we've done previously. Okay, but it seems to be building, so there's that. No registration found for, okay, we need to re-import the whole thing because now it's different. Now these are different types. We did some renaming. Okay, and here we go. So, okay, you couldn't see that, but it automatically picked up the box for some reason. Yeah, because I'm missing like a whole branch here. Like, first of all, we need to check if we're actually like pressing a button. That would be useful. What is it? It's not aim. Is it interactable? I don't remember. No, it's pickup. Okay, that's a really bad name. Okay, if this is active, I wanna do this whole match statement. If and only if. Okay, now we can pick up the box, we cannot drop it though. And that probably has to do with the missing if statement here. So if input, no, it's not even input, controller, holdable, action ID, no. What was here? I don't remember. Hold on, can we pick this somehow? Input pickup pressed and input pickup has changed. Okay. This is it. Okay, and it's also not pressed but active. Which I think is better, but it's interesting that it worked previously as well. Because ideally we want to automatically pick up something, even if we're holding the button as we run into something, if that makes sense. But yeah, so we're back. I can pick it up, I can drop it. If I hold E while running into it, I will automatically pick it up. So that's awesome. And now the worst part of the stream, figuring out how to handle the terminal. I know that there's a crate for Bevy that lets you like declare events on entities, which would be probably pretty useful here. Because ideally I don't want this whole match be here and then, you know, grow as I add new components, but rather have like a system that handles this for holdable and then another that handles it for terminal and whatever. But maybe for now we can just make it simpler. What does it mean for an interactable to be terminal? It means it just means that it's a terminal, like, you know, visually speaking. It's like a little thing with a keyboard that you like use. So it's like a terminal. It's not a terminal as in, you know, something that like ends, termination point. It's just that an interface. It is like a button in Portal, right? The kind of thing that you like press from the top. It's basically it. I guess the naming is a bit weird because this is holdable. So this would be like pressable, I guess, or clickable. Anyway, for now we can just, I think, handle it here. Just have a one huge system that does everything. Why not? So here we really just need the trigger status with, this actually doesn't have to be a tuple, with a what? With a toggle. And then we're gonna just get the status from here, from terminals. Get mutable, interactable entity. Good evening. Hi, hello. Welcome to the stream. What is it? It's something that just holds a Boolean value, right? If I remember correctly, the code that I wrote like 24 hours ago. Okay, that should work for now. Okay, so if I remember correctly, there is a terminal here, but it's not being rendered currently. Right here. It's a toggle, but it doesn't have any other elements, which we probably need to add. So oh, trigger status is here, but I guess it's not serializable, right? No, it is. That's interesting. Maybe maybe I need to rerun the asset processor just to get the newest values in here. Let's see if I go to Blender and move it somewhere. Okay. Oh, it does have trigger status. It has toggle. It doesn't have the last thing. It doesn't have this enum, right? Yeah, because that's not reflected. No, it is. Okay, so I don't know what's happening. Hold on, let's see. Let me guess. I didn't register the plugin, did I? Of course not, why would I do that? What if interactable was just a boolean flag set by the input, then terminal and holdable could be their own component instead of in an enum? That way you wouldn't have unrelated logic in the same function. Okay, hold on, I'm parsing this. Interactable was just a boolean flag set by the input. So like a component that's just a boolean. Am I getting this right? Yes, so when the boolean is true, you execute the logic for interacting. So the problem is that this is sort of stateful in the way it works. Hold on. Where is it? Right here. So the player can be in a state where it doesn't hold anything, or it does hold anything. And then interacting with a holdable needs to change its state. I will need to think about this. For now, I want to keep it in one place because there are going to be different types of terminals as well. So you have something that you just press the button and it does an action, and then you have something that presses a button and it toggles the input. And then there's also timers in the mix. So I guess I'm gonna see where it goes, and then I'm gonna try to refactor it somehow once I know what I needed to do exactly. Because technically using a flag on a component would be possible, right? It would be like a really simple event system. Like I set the flag and another system reads the flag and resets the flag. Because we're definitely gonna need something like that for rendering, right? Because if something is closer to the player, we probably want to like highlight it. So there is gonna be a need for some additional information on the entity itself. Okay, but now let me rerun this and let's see. Our toggle now is interactable and it is a terminal. Okay, so if you just go here, we should be able to change the trigger status by pressing E. And we cannot do that, sadly. We are close enough. So this is not spelled correctly. Terminals. maybe nothing to worry about now, but when you need to add more interactable things, the code might get a bit messy. Yeah, that I worry about that too. Let me also move this here, hold on. Or maybe not, never mind. Yeah, let's do some good old print lining. What is this? Interactable entity. Just to see if we are actually not being able to find it, or if it's not even executed at all. When I said you should try Helix is when I entered the stream and Neovim with Helix like theme was open. Sorry for confusion. No worries. It's not a Helix like theme, by the way. It's Kogonava. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's like a Neovim theme as well. I'm pretty sure it originated as a Neovim theme. Okay, let's see if we're getting any logs. Okay, so oh, okay, I'm silly. We are doing this each time, you know, the button is being held down. Yeah, so let's put it like this. And then the actual if is gonna be here with pressed instead of active. Yeah, we shouldn't need any of this. Wait, excuse me. Yeah, thinking about communication between systems is gonna be something I'll need to spend a lot of time on, I guess. Because I have no idea how to think about this yet. Okay, now if we go here. So I should have placed it like closer to the start. I don't know why I'm making it so difficult for myself. Toggle trigger status. I'm gonna let go of the cube. Okay, it still doesn't work. Well, that's a bummer. Oh, hold on, because that's criminal. Let me move this up here. This is actually easier. Okay, now it should be somewhere here. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it is changing, it's just that it's always changing to false. Can I clear the console somehow? Hold on. I know how to use VS Code, by the way. Just a preface. Gonna kill the terminal. That's not what I want to do. Okay, if I select this, I guess it's a really primitive way of doing it. Okay, so the multiple falses being executed here. That is interesting. Namely 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, sometimes 3. Okay, I see what's happening. I see what's happening. We are not, of course we're not. We are not clearing the input at the end of each fixed update loop. So it ends up being pressed over multiple frames. Oh man, my favorite type of bug. Okay, what about now? Toggle. Okay, almost. Okay, so now we fixed the issue. Now it's only being dispatched once. But it is wrong because it remains false. What if I? Oh, it's just always false. Even if I modify it here, that is interesting. Interesting. Who's doing it and why? These are the terminals. Here's the toggle. Update toggle doesn't do anything. Pressure plate. Pressure plate. Pressure plate is just casually setting the status of every single possible entity. Okay, has to be it. How many issues can we find with this one implementation? Here we go. We can toggle it on and off. That is awesome. It's awesome. And now it should be actually let me run the game. Having this terminal here somewhere in this vicinity. It's not visible because we're not rendering it right now, but we should be able to just take the platform and, you know, change the trigger to the toggle, and it technically should just work. So now the platform is away. Yeah, and now I'm pressing E to toggle the toggle, which toggles the platform. Awesome. Some nice visual would be in order, I suppose, because we cannot see it at all. Okay, now I'm thinking about, you know, separating this logic. Okay, but first let's do the draw toggle kind of thing, just so that we can see it. Some gizmos. Did they just import it as a namespace? That's not what I wanted to do. Gizmos like this. What are we gonna need? Probably the global transform. With a toggle. And maybe also let's get the trigger status in here so that we can change the color based on the state. Okay, what do we have here? I guess, is there like a cuboid? Yeah. What about a 2D cube? Is that a thing? I don't think it is. Okay, so what do you want? Transform point. Okay, I guess both platforms implement that, so that's not a issue. And then if status 0, it's gonna be color, let's say red. Otherwise, it's gonna be, is there some gray? Yeah, okay. That's a reference. No, it's not a reference. It's a double reference now. Do I need, wait, what do you want? Oh, you want ownership of that? Okay. You can have it. So draw toggle, we're gonna add a system. What's the name of it? There is like something like last update, right? Update, post update. Oh, it's just last. Okay. And then is there like the opposite of last? We have first. Okay. No, but I do want last. Never mind. That's gonna be some draw toggle right here. It's midnight, I need to sleep. Good luck with everything. Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, it is here. It's just really, really, really tiny. That's cool. So I guess if we change the transform of the toggle, right? Like the scale, yeah, it's gonna affect the cuboid. Okay. $824 maybe. Okay, can I just multiply it? I don't think I can, but let's try transform from scale. Maybe I can. That's fun. Okay, here it is. Now interact with it. So we have the terminal, we have the pressure plate. So now other types of terminals are as follows, right? First we have the toggle terminal, which is like a lever, right? If I could draw it. Right, hold on, let me draw it like a Minecraft lever. That's gonna make more sense. Right, then we have a button which you just press and it does some action. And then we have a timer which you just press and then it remains pressed for a specific amount of time. You should also be able to do gizmos for X2D to give it a position and size. Not sure if there's any advantage to using 2D gizmos over 3D. Oh, there is a X2D. Oh, that's cool. I wonder how it's implemented. Okay, so that's interesting. It is. I was sort of expecting it to be implemented using a cuboid, but it's like a different thing. And here it is, the same thing, just written differently. Yeah, so these are the two types that we need. We do have this one, right? That's what we currently have. What's up with the color? Yeah. And then actions are the worst parts of this, even in like Unity, because now that's gonna have to be an event in some way, shape or form. Because the beauty of the timed one is that this is basically a toggle as well. It's just that it unswitches itself after a certain period of time. So nothing fancy there. But this is a separate can of worms. I guess we don't really have anything to test it though. I don't think we have anything that like requires an action. That's just like a one-off thing that we do. Okay, I'm gonna think about this on a break. So, 5 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, so one sort of related problem that I have here is this little loop that looks for the closest interactable, because there may be situations where an interactable is not active, right? Like when, I don't know, maybe something is on the timer and you cannot interact with it again. With the current setup, it would still steal the spot from other interactables, despite the fact that we cannot really interact with it, right? So we would be standing next to this terminal, and then next to us would be a cube that we can technically pick up, but because the terminal is a bit closer than the cube, it would take precedence, despite the fact that we cannot interact with it. Which is, a long way of saying that we do need to test for conditions here as well, right? We need some way to do like if we can interact with this interactable. And this is something that I don't know how to structure using ECS, because like back in Unity, right? I would use the wonders of object-oriented programming and just have an interface for checking if the interactable is active. But here, like, without making a match statement, I don't know how, just like, a huge match statement here and handling, interfaces, cubes and whatever. I'm not sure how I would do that. I guess we would need a system. Maybe that would make sense, right? If we could have a system for each type of interactable that adds some sort of a flag to the entity, then here we would just like have one flag to sort on. So there would be a system that, updates all terminals, update terminal availability, right? Something like that. And then only the terminals that are available for the player to interact with would get some sort of available component. And then the same would be done for any other type of interactables in their own systems. And then this loop would just need to check, if the available component is present. Rust interfaces define a trait and implement it. I know what a trait is. But we don't know the type of interactable here. Right? Like I have an enum. I cannot, I do need a match statement somewhere. It's gonna be either here or in the implementation of the function on the enum. Speaking somewhat sarcastically about interfaces in OOP, because it's not really related to the language, it's related to the system. Because whatever dependencies, a terminal is gonna need to resolve its availability, it needs to fetch from the world. Unless we can define, a single trait that like takes everything that everybody needs from the state of the world. I think Tantan's early suggestion would help with this. Just be a flag component to denote if an entity can be interacted with at that point. I appreciate the suggestion. That's what I said like 2 minutes ago, though. Wait, and then each different interactive entity would have different components that define how we interact with it. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about a different problem. right? I'm talking about how to figure out if an interactable is available for the player to interact with, so that we can skip it in this search for the closest one. The problem with different interactive entity would have different components that define how you interact with it. The problem with that is that the player also needs a reference to the currently holdable entity, right? Because if it was just, oh, the player presses a button and that information is sent to other systems to handle, it would be easy to solve this way. But here we have like mutual dependency. The player needs to know that they are holding something, and the interactable needs to know that it's being held by something. So that's, I guess that's a really specific case for holdables, right? Because Tantan's suggestion would definitely work for just terminals and like other things like that we just interact with and we don't care about anything else. Like the what happens after the interaction is only related to the state of the entity and not the player. In that case, you would just remove the interactive component while it's not available. Yeah, so that's what I will be doing. Like I said, right? I'm gonna be having separate systems that handle availability and communicate that via a component. I don't think we can merge it with this though. At least not holdable. Again, a terminal could work with that, but I don't think a holdable would work with it. Yeah, especially since the logic is different based on the input state. Input pickup has changed. Action ID. Yeah, and the action ID belongs to the player controller. Okay, so I'm gonna start by filtering unavailable entities. So we're saying if you had separate systems, the terminal system would need to access the current holdable if one is being held, right? No, the terminal can work just right without knowing anything about the player. The terminal is not a problem. That could be handled in this way. The holdable is a problem. Because the holdable, before it can be activated, it needs to check if whatever the player is currently holding, not if whatever the player is holding, if the last action ID stored within the player is different. Because it's the same, then we don't want to do anything. I guess we can maybe reduce this to just a simple if statement. It's like it's clear that there is specific handling for holdable that's not applicable to other things. Trying to think about this. Define a component, check if ready to interact, which contains a system ID for the system used to determine if it's ready. Yeah, but to run a system using a system ID, you need an exclusive system with access to world. Yes, but exclusive systems aren't that bad for performance at all. You just want to avoid having too many. Yeah, I get you, but also I don't know. I just kind of want to do it, you know. How do you say that? I don't know the phrase for that. Because but a system ID would still not work because system would run for every single thing. So like at that point, if we're storing a system ID, we can just, or would it be a system that runs for like a specific entity, right? If this was an if statement here. Yeah, I don't see how you would do that with a system. Would the system return like a boolean or a system for a specific entity or flagged entity? So you would, each time coming here, you would need to like modify the entity so that is the current entity is the one that's flagged, and then run the system, and then somehow read back from the system. I feel like here's the thing. I feel like doing it inside of this for loop for each entity is kind of a bad idea. And doing it outside of the for loop doesn't need exclusive access, right? Because at this point that could just be a system that runs before this one. Okay, let me just implement the availability tag first, and then we're gonna see where it goes. Right, so this would just be a component for now. Maybe can interact. True, I don't think I have a particularly good solution to this problem. Just trying to throw some novel ideas out there. No worries, appreciate that. Hey, do you upload your animation files in Motion Canvas to Patreon, or upload a video where you code and create this animation? The source code for all of my videos is available on my GitHub for free. You can find a link in the description of every video. I mean, to some point, right? Because there are some videos that weren't made with Motion Canvas, because they were made before Motion Canvas existed. Okay, let's register this type. Now we just update can interact. It's gonna be a mutable query, I guess. Is it gonna be mutable or maybe just a query? Do we even need player physics? What do we need here? Practically nothing. I'm thinking how we would check that because I don't know yet. Man, yeah, for this to work we would need some sort of a timer on the toggle, because without it we can't really check, because there is no way for something to not be available to interact. Yeah. So I guess for now, let's just not worry about that. I'm gonna leave the can interact here. And I will also leave our to do. Yeah, for now it's gonna have to suffice. Yeah, that works. I'm just gonna commit this. Okay, and now let's start slowly working through the to-do list. Add pressure plates. Well, that's actually done. That was easier than I thought. Force fields. Make the edges of force fields smoother. Currently, the player will rapidly switch directions when reaching the top edge of a force field, pointing upwards. That is true. That is something that happens. Right? If I go, you know, somewhere here. This is sort of what happens at the very top. We just keep on bouncing up and down as if we float in water or something. And I'm not sure if there's a way to fix this, but my idea, right, would be to somehow detect how far away we are from the edge of the force field and start decreasing the force of the force field as we approach it. I don't know if it would be better. Presumably we would find some sort of equilibrium when the force field, I mean, the equilibrium would be here, right? If we assume that as we get closer to the edge, we move the gravity vector from the force field back to gravity. Well, no, the equilibrium would be somewhere in the middle, right? As we slowly switch this vector, you know, from force fields to gravity, at some point it would be 0, and that would be like the equilibrium point. Acceleration direction question mark. I don't understand that question. I'm not sure. There is a slow delay on the stream, and I'm not sure what you're referring to. Will you be able to walk on top of the force field? You don't walk, but you can use air control, because you have some air control, right? When you are not on the ground, so you can use it to move. At the top, acceleration magnitude is almost 0. Yeah, I don't understand. I'm not sure if you're asking a question or if you're stating the fact here. So adding this smooth section around the edges would still have the same effect, but it wouldn't have this like jump out sort of thing at the end, right? Because we would just gradually slow down and then presumably stop instead of jumping up and down. The question is, would that really be better? Maybe the current thing is okay. One thing that we definitely need to fix, though, is a problem with player detection. Because currently I'm using a point detection to see if the player is inside of this volume. As you can see, like when I stand like this, despite the fact that the colliders are intersecting, we are not being moved upwards. And this is also the reason why the pressure plate is not working. It only works with the box, but it doesn't work with us. Right, if I put it here, it enables the lift, but it doesn't do anything else. Perhaps instead of changing the force field force, you could just define a zone where the player doesn't flip. That would preserve the player floating at the top while avoiding the constant flipping. Oh yeah, the constant flipping is fixable, because that's a visual, right? It's not, like the collider is not actually rotating or anything like that. So yeah, that's we can fix that in post. There's a lot of other issues with the animation, like the fact that if I enter this elevator, it's gonna think that I'm moving to the left, despite the fact that I'm standing still, right? So this is this is the problem with the visual sort of layer. But I'm only concerned about the gameplay aspect right now. Yeah, but I guess we can start by trying to figure out why is the player not intersecting anything. Going back to the pressure plate. Intersection area would be interesting as a mechanic. Larger items might be affected more than a small one. Oh yeah, but I cannot calculate that. So, at least Rapier cannot do that. It can only tell you if something is intersecting, but not like what is the area of intersection. That's like a full-blown buoyancy simulation. So pressure plate is being updated here. And it's just intersection with pairs, but for some reason, it's not including the player here. I think at least. Okay, so let me try to run my hot module setup, see if it works. And we're gonna go to player physics, I guess, because that's where it all started. Is it the player physics or is it free run? I think it's free run. Okay, I'll panic. It's not a problem. Just needs to rebuild something else. Free run state. Yeah, here's the force field. Find field at point is what we are doing currently. And there is a function for find intersecting field, which looks like this. So let's just steal it for now. Put it here so we get some hot reload happening. Ooh, but we may not be able to access the context because it's not public. Let's make it public for now. Something seems to be wrong because it's getting stuck on like 397 while building the common package, common crate. Let's try again. Oh, okay, that's a linker error, as always. Well then, never mind, we're using the normal build, which also doesn't work. Well, that's a problem. Let me see. I can steal this target directory for now. To avoid recompiling the whole thing. Because the only way I know how to fix this issue is by removing the target directory and recompiling it, but that's gonna take a while. And by while I mean like, I don't know, 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I do wonder what can be a problem with the player not being considered for collisions. Okay, so it compiled. Yeah, and we're not seeing any actual intersection happening. Because this is generally going to be called for any AABB intersection. And then intersecting is going to be true or false, depending on whether or not they are actually intersecting. So not just the bounding boxes, but the actual shapes. Right, so right now, we can see, what is this? 13 V1. Oh yeah, that's the pressure plate. Now we're not colliding with anything, now we're colliding with the pressure plate. Despite the fact that we are colliding with it, the intersection is still false. And that's something that we want to figure out. Do I have a player bundle? Is it a thing that I actually have? I don't remember. What is this? No, we have a spawn player system. So it does get a rigid body, it does get a collider. Collision groups. That would be a problem, wouldn't it? Because a pressure plate is an entity. That's interesting. No, but it doesn't fix it. It's still false. Maybe it is because of the rigid body type. What if I just make it dynamic, just for the sake of testing? Ooh. Look at this. Okay. So now, of course, it doesn't work correctly, I assume. I mean, I guess it kind of does. Because I override the position anyway. Okay, but that's interesting. Why is this happening then? Does physics engine use two phases like broad and narrow? The physics engine is Rapier. You can look it up. I don't know. It probably does. Dynamic flags to Rapier. Dynamic flags to Rapier that the collider could move. It skips static checks in the main loop since they won't change. They're static. Yeah, but kinematic should be considered dynamic, right? The info section. I'm not sure what you mean. You mean this? Taking obstacles into account needs to be done manually, either by using scene queries to detect nearby obstacles or by using the built-in character controller. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're doing. But it is interesting that like it doesn't detect intersection, because that's not collisions, right? It's we are talking about sensors. Because we do it here, right? This is where we handle like player collision, detecting moving objects and whatever. I wonder if it's sleeping though. So like, okay, hold on. To test this really quick. Let's go to the cube, right? And let's make it collide with the player as well. Because it does say that, yeah, it's gonna ensure a realistic behavior of dynamic bodies in contact with it. Yeah, now it's not gonna move into me as it should. And instead it's just pushing me. So there is, it does collision detection. Let me check something else. Just read it in Rapier GitHub issue that kinematic static contacts are ignored. That issue says you should use ray box casting instead, I guess. Is that like an official response though? Or is it just somebody saying like, oh yeah, this works for me? I'm trying to make this box go to sleep, but it doesn't want to. Because I know that it changes color, and I wonder if we're the same color, because we do have like a different shade of red, right? Than the box. Let's see. No, I don't think that's related. Where did you find this issue? What's can you give me the title? Kinematic bodies do not wake up dynamic bodies connected via impulse joints. This is something that we encountered initially when using springs to implement picking up boxes, I remember. It's issue 15. Character controller use case depends on whether it makes sense for a character controller to be a kinematic body. Okay, but they did point out something interesting, right? Which is that do I even need this to be a collider? This could be a sensor. Wait, no, never mind, but this wouldn't change anything because it's based on the type of rigid body that we're using. Sensor needs a collider. I know that it does, I know. But more importantly, it needs a rigid body to actually detect collisions or intersections in this case. What if we just make it dynamic though, right? Can be affected by external forces. I don't know, let's just leave it like that and see if we can spot any problems, because technically I am manually updating the position. Like I'm overriding it every fixed update. Or maybe we could just add another entity that just follows the player. That would be a really cheating way of solving that issue. Because what I'm afraid of is that there are gonna be some slight, you know, fluctuations in the position when something like hits this rigid body. Because we set the position, but then Rapier runs at the end of the fixed update. Because we ran before Rapier, so then Rapier could have a chance to like modify the position slightly afterwards. This is so silly, right? If only there was a way to like make the rigid body's position not be calculated by the physics engine. If only. What about a shape cast? Yeah, but we're looking for some, you know, generic solution, because the pressure plate, for example, is just, you know, it's just detecting collision pairs, right? Because the player is like the only thing here that causes the issue. Because when it comes to the fields, then like, yeah, with fields we could simply make this do a sphere cast and, you know, see if we're intersecting anything. Yeah, just cast shape. If you cast the pressure plates cuboid, would it find the player collider? Have you had a look inside Rapier? For a lot of Bevy plugins, you can just add systems resources yourself to remove certain behaviors. I'm not sure if that's the case with Rapier. But we are missing a behavior. Right? We're not trying to remove a behavior. But if you cast the pressure plates cuboid, would it find the player collider is an interesting question. Man, I hate how it asks me for like position and rotation separately. Like, what do you mean by that? And rotation is just it's just a float. How am I supposed to know that? What is it gonna be? Hold on. Status collider. Transform. This is gonna be transform.translation. And this is gonna be what? Transform that right that angle. Why is it angle between? I mean, I guess I want angle between vector 3 right. Not right. What would it be? X. Shape velocity. Okay, but that's not what I want, because that's like casting for collisions. I want casting for intersections. You can use intersections with shape. It's gonna be the collider. What else do you want? The filter, okay. And what's gonna be the filter? Collision groups can be converted to filters, okay. That's awesome. Okay. Let's see. Hi, hello, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Lovely having you here. It is such a bummer though with the way we need to do this. If that's the solution we land on, right? It's like, oh, let's just re-implement intersection checking. Okay, believe it or not, we are getting something. We are getting collisions with 13 v1, whatever that is. Oh, that's the pressure plate. Would you look at that? Okay. But we're colliding with it like... Oh, it's colliding with itself. I'm stupid. I forgot that we are trying to... Okay, so it's not colliding with the player. It's colliding with itself. And it's colliding with the box. But it's not colliding with the player. It doesn't seem to be the case. But let me just... let me just make sure. Could look into XPVD as an alternative physics engine. Yeah, once they finish it. Like, you know what I mean? They're like in the middle of rewriting the whole solver. Is there box 2D for Bevy? I'm not sure. Are there any physics systems you actually want from Rapier or just the types? I love how everybody's like, have you considered like not using the physics engine? Yeah, I'm using like, you know, the rigid body simulation from Rapier. Like I'm using the first of all, I'm using parry for like casting in the player controller, and then I'm using rapier for simulating physics of like rigid bodies and things like that. Like, what do you mean just the types? What types? I mean, I guess they're like rigid body velocity types, right? But they are then updated by rapier systems. I removed the print line here. Okay, so now it should be a little bit clearer as to what we're interacting with. And also, actually, let me do a little check if C is different than the current entity, right? Because we're not interested in collisions with ourselves. Okay, I thought you had your own physics. Must have confused the player controller. My bad. No problem. No problem. Yeah, the player controller is like custom, right? The physics in the player controller, like all of the velocities and stuff. That is true. But something like a cube, right? When I pick it up and I throw it down, like this whole behavior of it like falling down and tumbling and stuff. This is handled by rapier. Okay, so no collisions, no collisions. Now that's just annoying. The fact that it doesn't query for... Oh wait, no, hold on. That may be a me problem. Because the player... Oh, but would it think about this? Because the player's collision group right now doesn't list entities. The entity group, right? I wonder, but it doesn't seem like it should take that into consideration. Maybe it does. Oh my god, it does. Here we go. Collisions with the player. I have no idea how it does this then. I guess this conversion must be somehow storing the current group of this collider, because otherwise how it would know that this collider belongs to the entity group? Wait, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Query filter from collision groups. Oh, okay. I see. If set only colliders with collision groups compatible with this one will be included in the scene query. Okay, that's awesome. So this is a solution. We can then set do false here, I guess. Hold on. This would be false, because that's gonna stop the iteration, and then we're gonna return true here. Like this. Man, if only there was an easier way to return this. I know. I know, but we need a variable here as well. Found any collider. It's gonna be false. It's gonna be false and mutable. This can be simplified, right? I could assign this to that and then return the inverse of that. I think. I don't know if that's correct. Also, I don't even know if the angle calculation is correct. I just guessed that the angle is like relative to the x-axis. Okay. Now the platform is here. I stand on the pressure plate and it comes to me. And my player is rotating, apparently. Okay. I left the... Oh no. Well, that's a bummer. Maybe we celebrated too soon. The rotation was great. Yeah, truly. The best feature so far. Okay, believe it or not, it actually works. Despite using a kinematic rigid body. Okay. So that would fix the platform. It is still hacky though. I still don't like it. But I guess there is no better way. And then we just need the force fields. To do the same thing. Maybe try your old way with the collision group change. Yeah, we tried that at the very beginning. Haven't we? Oh, this custom gravity. I was confused by the file that I was in. You added entity to the group filter in the beginning. I believe I did. Because this has always been this way. There is no change. And I tested this for the player initially, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Doesn't work for the player. Works for the box. With entity. So what we want is a transform. Collider. And groups. Actually, this could be just 0 for now. Also, I'm rewriting the wrong method. This is actually the good method. This is the wrong method. Yeah, intersections with point. So shape is collider, filter is groups into presumably the referenced. Callback is the same. Intersections, plural. Okay. Let's see, transform. What else do we need here? Collider and groups. Do we have the collider? No. Let's see. If this is gonna work, we should be able to just enter the force field and immediately be affected by it. Instead of, you know, having to cross the... Ooh, well, that's a bummer. Collider not found, okay. Okay, this works. And this also works. So you only need to collide with it. Okay. So now I can go ahead and actually edit this back so it has the same height. But here's the thing, right? Rapier should already have the state of the world inside of its context, if I'm thinking correctly. Right, so if I had access to the entity here, I could do self.context. Right, I can get the collider, for example. No, this requires a handle, hold on. Oh, entity to collider. And then this would get me collider handle, okay. Not map, and then the referenced. See, so I can technically fetch the collider from this. What about other information? What else can I get here? Collider, I can get the body. Body would contain the position, right? Oh, it's just rigid body handle, okay. So it may not contain the position, now as I think of it. And then handle, and let's see. Okay, what can I do with you? Probably nothing, right? Ooh, the world space position of this rigid body. Ooh, okay, but these are not the actual Bevy components, right? These are the internal representations. Interesting. I guess if we really wanted to, we could do that. I'm not gonna do it right now, though. I am, however, gonna take a break. So, see you in 6 minutes. Okay, so this would be this issue completed, I guess. Not necessarily in the nicest way, but what did we change here? Custom gravity. Oh, the name of this. Okay. Okay, let me just remove all of the little errors, and that should be it. What is this? Player. Oh yeah, we need to fix that, because we do want the player to interact with a pressure plate, but we don't want them to interact with other entities. Okay, let's make a new group called sensors, I guess. Sensor. And there's gonna be a pressure plate and other things like that. Oh, the pressure plate is now not interacting with it. Oh, okay, that's because the cube. Yeah, we're gonna have to make it easier to control, I guess. We could probably export this also into its own little struct so that we can configure all of this in one place, right? So we can say, oh, entities should be able to interact with this, instead of having to jump between, you know, all of these files. Okay, that works. Also, moving platforms, that's finished. We added them. Force fields, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this. Hooks. Check the line of sight between the player and the hook before allowing the interaction. Oh, this is perfect actually, because that would be... This is the same problem that we were trying to solve previously, just with the different type of interaction. Just in the free run, right? Yeah, we're doing a little closest launch pad, and this is just closest for some reason. That's closest targetable. Right, and this is, you know, the same problem. So basically, for now, just continue with the match statement if that's a hook. We're gonna wanna do some casting, shape casting. Let's get some rapier context in here. And I think we can just do a little, it doesn't, maybe not a cast ray, maybe just cast shape in general. Okay, shape velocity. We're gonna need that. Also, we have target position here, so that's awesome. And the name also doesn't make sense. This should be player position. Target position would be this. And the distance is between these two. And then for velocity, we want what? Target position minus player position. Normalize or 0, and then the shape is gonna be the collider. We already have that from the field casting. Max time of impact, that's just distance because we want to check the whole path. Stop at penetration, that doesn't really matter. And then filter again can be groups into. Yeah, okay, but I don't want to return this. Yeah, so basically, if we hit something while going there, we don't want to, you know, go there anymore. Presumably the distance should be a bit shorter than like the radius of the player. because right now a hook can be positioned slightly in the wall like this. So here technically a collision would happen. Right, so for now let me just hard code it. And we don't actually care about the result. Okay, now we should be only able to reach hooks that are within the line of sight. Okay, so I can go to this one. I can go to this one. But here I'm not able to. Okay, unless I reach this point. Okay, perfect. So can only zip if we are in the line of sight. Then of course we won't be able to zip through, you know, the entire level like this. The hook will also have to be visible on the screen. That's another condition. What else is there? Yeah, restrict the interactable distance. That's gonna require the camera. Handle cases where the hook is too far away from a wall for the collision to be detected. Currently the player will just never exit the hook state. Presumably they should be released and fall down. Question mark. Oh yeah, so that's what happens when the hook is like, maybe let's get this here, like this. So it's not touching any wall, and so we don't hit anything. Yeah, and we remain in this sort of state. Okay, what is going on? Oh, here it is. So we probably don't want to move the player physically anyway, right? Because right now we're just doing this weird thing where we just set the gravity towards the hook. I don't want to do this though. So I want to do the same cast in here. Like this. Let's get the context. gonna be transform, translation, truncate. It's gonna be hook transform, that's translation, minus transform, that's translation, truncate, normalize or 0, collider, we need that. And we need groups as well. Okay, we can actually do this, right? Let vector, which is something I'm already doing below here. Yeah, then hook up. I would go for normalize or 0 here though. Distance is gonna be, no, not distance, length. No, okay, that's okay. So now this is gonna be the velocity. And we no longer subtract distance. So now our target position, if we hit something, that's gonna be whatever we just hit. What is the return value here? Entity and time of impact. Okay, we're gonna get the details that will give us the normal of the collision. Oh, wait, actually we don't need that. We just need the time of impact. Because then this is just gonna be the starting position. Hold on, let me. Yeah, this is gonna be player position plus the hook up vector times times what? Time of impact. And otherwise, our target position is just the hook position. Okay, the entity is not necessary. And now instead of all of this, where you like move and do whatever, we're just gonna immediately exit the state. Right after setting the position of our player to the desired position. So this will basically teleport us to the hook. Okay, can I not mutate this? Yeah, this is not mutable. Oh no, that's a problem. I mean, it's not really that big of a problem. We're just gonna have to get this again here. Okay, cannot borrow transform as mutable because it's also borrowed as immutable. It is not though. Oh no, it is, because we're using it here. Yeah, so let's just operate on positions entirely. So hook position is just gonna be this, translation, truncate, and then this is gonna be player position, translation, truncate. So this whole vector is just hook position minus player position. And this is not necessary anymore. Okay, and this is just hook position. Much nicer. Okay, and then here, again, this is player position. This is hook position. This is line to D. Okay. So this state right now, and I'm gonna change this in just a second, but right now we just redo the cast and immediately teleport the player wherever we encounter a hit, or otherwise we just teleport them to the hook position immediately. Yeah, okay. Oh, what is this action here? I get kind of like thrown off the platform when I run in the opposite direction. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to investigate that. Okay, but other than that, yeah, we can snap to the hook right here. Okay, and now I would like some timer in here. Right, something like a hook timer. So the teleportation is not happening immediately, but rather we freeze for like a split second and then teleport. So yeah, like literally 0.1 second, I guess. Okay, so if we enter the state, we're gonna... do we have access to the controller? No. We're gonna reset the hook timer, if that's possible. Oh, it's a component, okay. Hold on, why is it a component? Oh, because it has entered state, okay. Okay, never mind. And then controller is gonna be... it's gonna be used for resetting the timer right here. And we'll also need some time. Oh, it's not delta seconds, what is it? Just delta, okay. And then if controller hook timer finished, if it's not finished, we're just gonna continue this loop. Okay, so basically this is only gonna happen after 100 milliseconds. And I guess we can move this. I guess we can move this like here and then draw the gizmo before we continue. So the gizmo is always visible. And then I feel like this is the best way to handle it gameplay wise. And when it comes to the visuals, you know, it's gonna be handled on the side of the visuals, if that makes sense. Like, it's not gonna affect the gameplay. Gameplay wise, it's just gonna be a teleportation, but visually we're gonna add some nice transition. Okay, so now the only problem is that it doesn't freeze us. Oh, and it's getting obscured by the sensor. That's another problem. Let's see. Can I not use it? It's gonna be query filter from. Is this correct? Yeah, okay. And then, yeah, I should be able to say exclude sensors. The same goes here. Come on, import it. Okay, now we can zip even when we are on the pressure plate. So previously it wouldn't work. And lastly, we can physics can freeze the player upon entering this state. And it's gonna get automatically unfroze, I don't know, when it enters the free run state. Yeah, so now I get stopped. Yeah, then the next thing we're gonna have to handle is probably restricting the interaction distance for both hooks and kinesis. That's gonna be a bit challenging because we wanted them to only be interactable when they are on the screen. Okay, but let's commit this for now. We no longer need this gravity. And that's it. Okay. Is it a fix? I guess it is. Okay, so it's a bit late for tackling these two, but I guess we can take a look at this. Limit the speed along the tunnel caused by the player's input. So that's the free run state. That's not a separate state. What this means is that if I go to an extraction tunnel like this, I can use my input to like align with the tunnel to either make me speed up or make me practically stop, if I can do that. Like here, I'm practically stopping. This shouldn't be possible, right? Same here. We should be able to like reduce the speed, but not so much that we basically stop in place. So this is where we are handling the tunnels. So we have the speed x, and then y. Physics velocity dot, okay. So this is the control velocity, and we're currently using speed. Okay, but this comes from the extraction tunnel itself. And the input movement is accounted for here. Okay. So for now, let's just make it so that input velocity is gonna be parallel to the normal of the extraction tunnel. So that's just gonna be this. Now I think there is a function for this in Bevy. Now as I think of it, there's something project onto normalized, right? And that does the exact same thing. Like this. I don't know if this is any clearer. Hold on. I don't know, man. It's like more characters. Look at this. That's like 11 more characters here. I guess I'm gonna stick with this because the rest of the project is using it so far. Ooh, although this becomes better if we're like talking about modifications. If we were to like use the perpendicular vector. Now we're closing the gap. Yeah, whatever. Let's stick with this. So I'm only gonna take the horizontal velocity for now. And the rest is exactly the same. So now this will basically make it so that we cannot speed up or slow down at all. Yeah, now you probably cannot see that, but it's impossible for me to slow down or speed up for that matter. But I still can, you know, escape the tunnel. So that's nice, and then we're gonna take the perpendicular thing right here. Perhaps we don't even need this. We can just take input speed and not velocity. And this is gonna range from like 0 to, from -1 to 1. So that's really easy. And all we need to do then is just add this, multiply it by some factor that we want to, you know, affect here. So speed by 2, that's just 120. So let's say that we only want to modify it by like 60. And that's a float. So now here speed would range from like 0 to 120, but with our input modification, it will be able to range from 60 to like 240. Okay, and it's just reversed right now, so it's gonna be minus, but let's maybe use minus here, because we're using it here, so it makes more sense. Okay, now I can slow down, but not as much as previously. And then I can speed up as well. Okay. Let's call it input delta speed. And let's call this base speed. Get rid of this random 0.5 here. This is also gonna be base speed. So base speed, that's 120, and then player. No, what did I call it? Input speed delta, was that the name? Input delta speed. That's gonna be 60 for now, but we'll see. Maybe we're gonna modify it at some point. Okay, and we still need the speed as 240, because that's the base speed of our player, which is not, which is still kept in constants. I'm gonna have to move them into some common resource eventually. Alright, I think that's it for today. So we're gonna be slowly ending the live stream. Sort of getting, getting closer to the famous 2080 rule, right? It's much more like fixing and polishing things than actually implementing new features. So anyway, I will not be streaming tomorrow. Actually, I'll be streaming next Thursday. No, yes, that's true. So 2 days from now, at the same time. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the live stream. And yeah, anyway, have a great rest of the day or evening or good night. And I'll see you soon.